You're listening to the Talking TUF podcast, creating tough minds for fitness, nutrition, and business. With your hosts, Rob Foster and Josh Phelps.
So in today's episode, we are going back to lockdown. I wish we had those buttons. But anyway, why the gym benefits us so much and how we can actually get away with those benefits, obviously, when the gyms are closed. So things we can be focusing on, why we need to stay positive for each other throughout this time and surrounding yourself with the right people, why that's so important. You can run, but you can't hide. So what that means. Listen, it's... well, first of all, we're going to start off with a government fail versus gym fail. I'm not going to get into the whole sort of like political side of things here. I think people are probably quite sure of our standpoint on why we think gyms should be open. We know the huge benefits, but we're also respectful of what's going on and where it's going. So our standpoint is maybe different to a lot of other places, maybe the same. And, we're going to get, it's kind of one of those big 50-50 divides almost now, I think, really. Yeah. Maybe even more in a percentage other ways. And, you got to look at who you are, but also who you're working with, your support and all that, and different demographics. And unfortunately, I think Boris was quite harsh on the old age thing, right? I think what was he? He was putting like people like elderly people over 60. I was like, wow. Yeah.
And he said if you're the older population, 45 and over.
Nice, 45, wow. Which you're borderline. Technically, you're technically borderline. I made that comment actually in one of our videos, and everyone was like, "You think 40's old?" I was like, "I don't actually think 40's old. It's a bit of a dig at Rob, but whatever. Let's have a little bit of a laugh with it." So anyway, government fail. Mm-hmm. Now, may not be the fail that you're thinking of right now. Obviously, closing the gyms, but more so making an announcement on a Saturday night. I mean, I've got to be honest with you. I'm not a rock and roll lifestyle liver at the moment. We've got Hazel. We're not doing anything crazy. We're in. The craziest it gets is probably a bag of Haribo and a bag of chocolates in the same night. That's sort of where we're going crazy at the moment. But I bet there's a lot of people. Obviously, you can only go 1 to 6. Yeah, people aren't going out on the sesh. People have got to be in by 10 o'clock. But Saturday's just a day where people are trying to relax. And then I got and you did. And I think you mentioned your wife got one early doors, didn't she?
They must have leaked something because messages were coming in. Waking up Saturday morning, there could be another lockdown. It's a month or longer.
Cheers.
How flat was Saturday when you know that's
well, and that's exactly it, right? So it depends on what you're trying to do daily anyway. I mean, I've been... people will say, "Oh, you shouldn't bury your head in the sand," and all this sort of thing. When I say that I don't watch the news daily, it does not fill me with positivity watching the news daily. And the reality is, when there's something that's really, I suppose, something we have to really know about. Obviously, we're on the button with those things. We're not daft. We're still working on the things, and business is obviously very important, and protecting the business and the people that are within the business, clients, everyone there. That's our main priority. But for me to wake up every single day or stay up every night listening and looking at the R rating, whether it's moved a little bit, whether people are going to be negative, what's happened, how many deaths there are, then it's questionable about those facts anyway, unfortunately, because of, we look at those about how it's been done and portrayed. It's like somebody's been tested within the last. So there's a lot of, uncertainty around the numbers. So if you're, glued to this number being a real negative thing and thrown in your face daily, is that a good thing? I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. If you want to be up to date on things, and there's lots of different sources to read from, but unfortunately, people are getting their facts from social medias, from things like that, and then spreading the word. And it's like, we've talked about it time and time again. It's got a flip side. Social media has its benefits sometimes, and unfortunately, I think fewer nowadays than it should be, and a lot of, unfortunately, bad things going on. And if you're just exposing yourself to it daily, regularly, you're a product of what you expose yourself to, right? It's your environment. So
I don't think we need much more in terms of like negative impact to our daily life than more. There's a lot going on right now, and then you've got the weather, the temperature, the dark mornings.
Yeah,
get this thrown in there. Not considering the obviously those factors, comparing this month coming ahead, because we're talking about this just before we go into our second wave lockdown or whatever. The difference in weather. People got out in the spring and exercised outdoors. It was really sunny. We were pretty much blessed with great weather during that.
Yeah.
Morale was low, but also brought up higher than it could have been, with the fact of the weather and getting outdoors and doing stuff. So how is that going to affect people now when it's pretty bleak, to be fair.
I think this is it, you know. Do you know what I want to say to this lockdown is you're nothing. You're only a month, right? This is 4 weeks. 4 weeks, honestly, goes in a flash. I mean, half the people, 2020's gone in a flash because it's been like, you think about how many months that's been. This is 4 weeks, right? We got, you know, you hear this, we got this crew, and I love all of that, you know, and actually I do genuinely love it, because I like to see that there's people that have got some positive, you know, energy about this. I mean,
what's the other option, really? You just give in and like, I'll wait till January. Would it be? Yeah,
January. I mean,
that's 2 months ago.
Yeah, it's another 2 months away, and you know, and this is the thing. People are like, oh well, I'm going to stop now in November. I'll start again in December. Right. I'm going to tell you now, just through
we've seen it year
through facts. You know, we take memberships and we know people's activities. We study this because of how we deal with things, even for marketing reasons, for all sorts of things. Who is taking out a big leap of faith into their fitness, health, and whatever in December? Well, yes, things are going to be different. There aren't going to be probably Christmas parties like there were, and that starts at the beginning of December. But people will be making the effort to see other people. If you've not seen someone for a month, you're going to be booking in like a Wednesday night sesh, like, you know, just we'll catch up with them. Oh, it's going to be Wednesday night. We'll get here. Even if it's one other household, you'll make the effort, and I think you should, right? I do think you should, but. Then look at the point now. Well, if you can't do it now, what can you do? We'll make a positive impact. You know, why the gym benefits us so much, you know, and how, you know, people really, really want gyms to stay open. And you're seeing gyms doing it, right? Gyms are doing it. They're kind of, you know, they're just, you know, standing up against the man. And yeah, I get it. And actually for certain places and gyms, you know, I can kind of understand their actions, you know, and I don't, you know, it's very hard for somebody who, if you're very, very passionate about training and you know how much it affects you mentally, physically, obviously, we know about that. But we're talking more probably about the mental health side of things. When people are sort of saying why they're staying open, their argument really is the mental health side of things, because physically you can keep active, right? You can keep active. It's not easy. And it might not be the preferential way you like to train or stay active or do the things you like. I understand that. Crikey, I'm the last person you're going to see probably put a pair of runners on and go outside to do exercise. But do you know what? If it's for the right reasons, or you believe that it's going to try and help people and do something in terms of their health, their well-being, you know, whether it's right or wrong right now, it's, you know, that's, say, it's very controversial. It's not something that, you know, but we're in a situation as a business with a lot of people who are, you know, frontline NHS, you know, doing things, working very hard day in, day out, to try and protect people who, you know, are very passionate about the fact that they believe this is the right movement. Then we're going to support those people like they're supporting us. And that's, I think that's, you know, what, you know, it's tough to say, listen, we could get battered on this. And I think that, you know, it sounds stupid. I'm watching this thing about the presidential thing about how, you know, gun laws and stuff in America is like the big 50-50 divide, you're going to lose. But the reality is there is huge arguments for and against, okay? But the reality is, you know, you've got to look at what your views are and what you really are, you know, you're arguing for. And this is what we're going to say is, if we are, which we are, going to be closed by the looks of things, unless something drastically changes in the next couple of days, the gyms are going to be closed. Right, what are the benefits that the gym gives you, and how can we do that? How can we support those people? Well, as before in our last lockdown, is that we are going to be as active and as positive as possible. More so this time because we're almost prepared for it. Possibly a little bit better from learning from our lessons, like everyone does. You know, we did things well, and we did some things maybe we could do better. So this time it's 1 month. It's short, right? As I say, you're only a little lockdown, mate. You know, you're not got the power of the last lockdown. You're not got the fear of the last lockdown. You
can do a lot in a month. I mean, you probably go on to it in a minute, but we've had a very successful 28-day habit system in place that gets people focusing on the simple things. We've had people change massively in 30 days, not just because they're dropping weight is the goal, but feeling amazing from eating better foods in 30 days. So it seems a long time, 4 weeks of not doing anything, but really it's not. It's a snippet in the
majority of people are still going to work or working from home and doing a lot of things. A high majority, I believe. I might be wrong in that, and they might have some adjustments, but if you can start to now, as you say, focus on those other things that aren't necessarily the gym session, the training itself, because once again, we talk about this time and time again, we're more than just a gym in the fact that we really look at the other side of things, and there's a lot of people who do now, because the energy of, as you say, you go and train for 45 minutes or an hour, even if you do it daily, you know, it's 4% of your day. It's such a small part of your day that you've got to look at the other things, and that is including your sleep, because your sleep's massively important, and we talk about your sleep. We're going to be doing even more in-depth education over this next 28 days. As I say, we're going to be taking certain subjects like sleep, like hydration, obviously nutrition, but understanding, potentially trying to simplify it because it is tough. And if you can work on that in the next 4 weeks, and that was your real energy, even if you weren't to move and you would start to implement, all the better things in terms of getting good nutrients, getting good hydration, better sleep, or working out how you can work on those things at least, because it's not just a given. Just because we're in a lockdown doesn't mean you get to sleep 8 hours. Kids are still about, whatever else is going on. But with some real basic movement, and when I talk about basic, it doesn't mean it's useless. If you go walking, which you can do, right? You can 100% do that. And if you were to just walk and then start to work on these 28-day habits that we've got set up, that can absolutely transform you. And that's just through walking, right? There's
a habit stacking trick or hack or whatever you want to call it that we've let clients know before, and that's say if you make a coffee in the morning or tea, whatever, you flick the kettle on, it boils for 3 minutes. Say you pour it in, let the tea bag brew for 2 minutes. You've got 5 minutes there where you might just sit there on your phone waiting, passing time basically. Why don't you do something physical in those 5 minutes? So if you had 3 cups a day, right, you could do 15 minutes of squats, press ups. If you wanted to get a bit sweaty, star jumps, burpees, whatever, or you could just stick to one movement. Throughout the day, you've just smashed 15 minutes of exercise without even thinking about it. So how you've got to look a bit, I suppose, smarter at the time you've got, and don't necessarily just be like, because I'm at home, there's no gyms open. All I can do is, like an online workout or something.
Yeah.
Which they put off YouTube, and it's like, I can't do half the stuff. You can make it even simpler than that. It's not that difficult. But I think people maybe overcomplicate things. And
the other thing is you're saying just straight away, you might be in that situation where you're flicking on a kettle and you're like, look, I'm not going to be squatting. I'm whatever. You might be just in a position where you can't do it. But then we talk about things like breathing and controlling and actually being present. Because, when's the last time you stood in a queue or went to the bathroom and you didn't get your phone out, right? Every time we go to do simple little things where we have that time and that space, space gives us the ability to actually digest what's going on in the day, to actually assess things, to think. We don't give ourselves any almost thinking time, or if you're somebody who's going to take an opportunity to learn something, or maybe even if you're at work, you're at work and then you go, right, it's break time, such, whatever, you go and have a coffee, you go and have a coffee biscuit, and then you're scrolling. Well, you've almost not had that opportunity to digest what's going on, or remember, or learn, or whatever it may be in that opportunity. So, my challenge to you is when you go to make a coffee, go to the toilet, say stand in queue, whatever it is, those little things where you possibly used to just stand there. Sounds silly. I mean, 10, 20 years ago, you might have started playing Snake, but, just stand there and go, right, don't get your phone out. Think about something that's gone on,
What do they do before phones? Even before like Nokia 5110 with Snake on it.
Well, they say they
chat with people, probably
spoke to people,
just turned around. If
you're in your house, maybe looked around, took in some sights, whatever it is. You may have even noticed. It sounds really silly, but you end up noticing little things. And when you're not on your phone, you might go, that thing's out of place. You move it back, your house becomes tidier. You end up just being much more productive. And it's about that mindset of, if I had 3 minutes, right, and I said to you, right, I want you to do this 3-minute breathing. Or meditation, if you want to give it a title, whatever. You do a breathing thing, and you're telling me that you almost held your breath for like 2 minutes, something crazy the other day, right? You were doing something. Is that right?
It's it's a
Wim Hof sort of breathing thing.
Yeah, and it gets to the point where it's comfortable to basically you do 30 deep breaths, exhale, and just don't breathe, and just till you get that action to the involuntary action to want to breathe again. And then over 2 or 3 rounds of that, it becomes 2 minutes plus is easy.
So like,
it's weird.
Say you did that, right? And obviously there's benefits to it. It's not just doing it for the laugh, but actually, even so, it's something different, right? But you start to control your physiology, your psychology, and that's within 3 minutes of boiling your kettle. And then it actually becomes a habit, right? So every time you go to boil the kettle, you say you do it 3 times a day, you start to do it, you start to improve that. Even if it's as simple as we talked about before, just trying to work on inhalation, exhalation, and building up, maybe 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out to start off with, and just controlling that. And actually, even that for some people was just really actually taking control of the way you're breathing is such a powerful thing. And as I say, it's something you can do. You don't need a gym for that, right? You just need 5 minutes, which you might have with a kettle. You might not feel like you have 5 minutes in your life, but when you start to take control of these things and slow things down and process them, rather than filling it up with, as I say, filler of Instagrams or Facebooks or just whatever, you take that time, you become more in control and powerful. And so what we're talking about is the benefits of being in a gym, and unfortunately that's been taken away. Listen, there's huge benefits of coming in-house. Otherwise we wouldn't have it, right? We'd be all online. There's some great things. There's people. People's a huge thing for me.
That's the thing people find the best the driver to go and meet other people, exercise with them. And that is a big motivator for them to actually get out the door to do stuff when they know they're going to see other people's faces and in person.
And it's accountability. It's nice to be able to open up to talk about bad things, good things, whatever. If you're constantly going to be indoors with your partner and your family for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, you can it's good to offload sometimes. It's not about going, right, I'm going to catch up on my mate and just pour out negativity, because that's also not a good thing. But share wins, share things about, it's been, lockdown's not great, but actually, for me, it might be, I've been able to, come to work a little bit later and help Sue feed Hazel, and it's given her a couple of hours just to unwind after a hard night of whatever this and that's been a real positive. I'm not going to spend every day at home, bringing her up for the first month. There's a lot more to be done for us, 100%. But there might be an opportunity where I go, right, Rob, I'm going to clock off at 3 o'clock today, and I'm going to go and let Sue go and sleep for 3 hours. And these little things, they're positives. And actually being able to, see maybe more of her, I think in the next you all know better than I do, but in the next however many weeks, come 6 weeks, I get told she's going to do more than just sleep, wake everyone else up when she's not, and poo and whatever else. I might see some of these facial movements, these things that you do when you're just staring at a child for hours on end, and be like, wow, there's actually some actual, she's aware of stuff now. She's seeing things, she's become more reactive, and maybe that wouldn't have been something I'd been involved with. But so we look at the wins and stuff like that. I might be able to go out and walk with my mum and spend time, Hazel's mum and me walking. That just might not have been something that have happened, but that's an incredible time to be able to spend, and do. But it might be windy, it might be wet, it might be rainy, but actually that'd be quite a giggle. I find that sort of stuff quite funny sometimes. You get quite unrainy, like, disaster, I'm not prepared for it. I actually wrote a post about getting a good winter coat the other day. Great read. Forgets that. But this is the thing I'm saying, is about surround yourself with positive people. I one of the things I'm grateful for often, it sounds very sad and a bit cheesy because us two just sat at a table here, would be, coming to work and surround, myself with Rob, who's positive, who thinks similarly, different but similarly as well in some respects about being on things and trying to, look at the, how we can overcome things and being positive and sharing wins and things like that, and also driven, because if you're going to get into the mindset and surround yourself, unfortunately, you might have a partner who isn't as positive as you, but you want to be positive. So that's when you go, right, who is within my circle at the gym? Even if they're not like us, who has, say, maybe necessarily a tight community, you might see somebody regularly in that gym. This is where social media might be good. And you go, look, hi, Dave. You may not know me. I'm the bloke. We often train at the same time. I don't want to sound odd, but obviously the gym's closed. Do you fancy, going for a jog if they're a jogger, or walk or whatever, just keeping yourself positive? Or even if you need anything, mate, just to let you know, I'm here to reach out to. And that takes quite a big person to do that, male, female, child, because that's the other things, right? Kids are going to school, which is great, but people of all ages are going to find it very, very tough. And being there and showing, I'm seeing a lot of it now is, reach out to me if you need support, and I think that's great. They say, but also you can go out and exercise. It is a different world. It is a different situation.
Grab your workout buddies and just jump out. I mean, we said about the weather, but realistically, your skin's waterproof. You can dry off after an hour's training outdoors. You get a bit muddy, you can wash yourself. It's not a big deal. You're not going to be out there for 2 weeks in your same wet clothes. But I've done it. It's not great. So just be grateful in the fact that you can go home to a warm house, dry off, have your exercise done outside. I don't think it's that.
Maybe we should do that. Maybe that should be our challenge. Actually, we'll scrap the challenge that we've already planned for the 4 weeks about changing people's lives and go, right, the real challenge is go and sleep in your garden, don't get changed, get absolutely...
See you on December the 2nd.
Yeah, get soaked to the bone, and then come back and complain.
So you do the whole of lockdown in your garden.
Yeah, but, it's not the thing.
So we love seeing, obviously, members who are listening and watching this will know, but others might not know the community and the small little micro friendships that actually form in our community, in our gym community, fitness community, that we, and both online and offline, because we have people who chat with each other online on our Facebook groups who've never really actually had an in-person session together and train together or anything, but they actually just interact online, which is great. And then we have friendship groups who meet outside the gym, and actually, we've had people marry. I think pretty sure we've had a wedding. And kids, and it's not, we haven't, but we've had members who've formed a friendship and
well,
got
actually,
on.
To be fair, Alex has.
Well, technically, yeah, I suppose, yeah.
So technically, even staff. I mean, we're literally making lives. We are making. We're making children. In a weird way.
The great thing is that happens without us even trying, and people support each other, and that's the best. I think that is the single best thing about doing what we do, and it is the people just feel more supported around them, with not just us, because it'd be boring if we were the only ones we were like trying to hold up the world, trying to support everyone, but actually everyone helps each other.
Yeah, and more so than what we could ever do. Right? And that's it.
Exactly.
It's incredible. The next thing I've put is you can run, but you can't hide. Right now, what I meant by this is as I said earlier,
Halloween.
you can.
I know that didn't happen.
No Halloween because Boris as well.
That's why you had the Haribo. You got them for the kids.
100%. That's what it was. Yeah,
smashed them all.
Trick or treats for myself. Treats. So run, but you can't hide. Now, many people will obviously look to go to, and I don't know if I've just been noticing it more, but they'll probably go to running now because obviously gyms are closing and things, but also just be aware of those things, and there are other things you can be doing, but as I say, you can do that. You can walk though. As I say, you can do that in terms of what we're talking simplicity. Obviously you can do home workouts. Obviously if you're a member of ours, you'll be getting live Zoom, so you've got somebody to help coach you there, show you movements, go through it, looking at the movements you can do, doing them in a safe way, and actually looking at the variety of stuff. What I'm going to say is just try to be open-minded. It may not be your normal doing some squats in your house or whatever it be. And we always say squats is just a simple movement, but it might be lunges, it might be carrying some random object or pressing a random object. If you've got your trainers got you doing that, it is a little bit different, and it's going to be harder this time because you may not be able to do it in your garden, or you can do it in your garden if you're willing to do it, but you may not have the opportunity to do it. If you're somebody who's going to go right, well, the only thing I can do is run, then just be aware of injuries and niggles and stuff like that. Just be kind to yourself.
If you're not a runner, don't try and
build
start
build up slowly is my only thing, because the reason this is really coming is because somebody very close to me was like, I'm gonna have to go running. I was like, why are you gonna have to go running? He's like, well, because the gym's closed. I was like, and this is somebody who I know is heavy, right? But not through necessarily being overweight, but he's a big built bloke, and I know every time he goes running, he gets his ankles get hurt, his knees, his hips. He's like, he said, I'm gonna get injured, but I'm gonna go running because otherwise, what can I do? And I was like, why don't you go walk? Walking's not enough. Listen. If you've got the rest of things intact, walking is more than enough, especially if it's going to stop you from being injured. So when he goes back to wanting to train in a month's time, so you might start running for 2 weeks and be okay, but after a week he might be in problems. Then he's almost laid up because he can't do that. Then it's not productive. Get yourself doing the walking, do some of the basic movements, body weight at home if you can do them. Do things that beneficial to you. Maybe even take this opportunity to work on some of your weaknesses. We say it time and time again. Look at mobility, look at rotational exercises. These are things that could be done at home very easily with a small amount of space and short time, and you could be really benefiting. It could help your back health, it could help your hips, your knees, your everything. You can really work on some of those things. As I said, we talk about all the other benefits of your mindset and the nutrition side of things, but actually the physical, you may have this as a really, really positive time because you're not someone that goes to the gym and starts busting out a pigeon stretch because you're a guy who likes to shift big weights and do big deadlifts, and nowadays you haven't really necessarily got all the space and the time that you may have before to prep. Well, use this month now as maybe a mobility month.
I think we like during the last lockdown we did a bit more mobility for sure, and since gyms reopened 3 months, we've probably got less mobile because we've done less of it.
Yeah, exactly.
We focused on the training side of things and lack of mobility, and it definitely shows. Like we're starting to feel a little bit jacked up as it's tight shoulders, backs, hips and stuff. And that will probably come into more mobility will come into play.
I think
again.
That's something we'll probably share more of it a bit more publicly this time than what we did last time. Last time it was very much, obviously we're very member focused, and we are 100% member focused still. We're going to do all that, but there might be a little bit more sharing. So if you maybe are on the page but maybe not an active member, there'll be a little bit will drip in. But obviously the best way to do it is we do have an online membership. That is the thing we do. It is a membership. It's not just. You can get little tidbits and freebies and whatever else from wherever, and that's absolutely fine. As I say, there's nothing wrong with that, and actually there's a wealth of information out there, but just be smart. Don't try and do the jumping Spider-Man press up handstand clap because somebody's doing it and you think it's the best exercise for fat loss. It's not, right? Just be smart. The best exercise is going to be the one you're going to be able to retain at least for the 4 weeks, especially if you're going to go home and start doing HIIT training where you don't do it normally. Just take your time, pace it a little bit. Work hard for sure, but just make sure you're smart about what you're doing.
I think we've done a very effective program with a red band only, and like, not saying we're super strong, but we can lift some weight. But a red elastic band gives us a pretty decent workout, all over body workout in very little time, really. And it doesn't have to be looked at as easy or.
Yeah, that's not just a resistance thing. Obviously there's good resistance there. You got we've programmed this. It's got a little bit of the sort of HIIT style thing, body weight stuff, cardiovascular, but also, for the guys that who maybe who enjoy the pump or the strength or whatever,
like using a band.
But I can tell you now, you can get an incredible workout if you do the right sort of. You got to be thinking about volume, intensity, frequency.
Got to think about the muscles used rather than just say like for band pull aparts. Someone's just literally going to rip the band apart. That doesn't really do much. But thinking about the muscles you're using for that and contracting them properly is going to be a pretty good workout. Yeah.
So just think about what you're going to be doing. Do it smart. I think, as you say, look at this time now. Once again, we've kind of been through it. Look at the things you did well in the last lockdown. Maybe look at some of the things you're like, almost like some people are, I kind of wish I'd done that. Well, all right, it's only 4 weeks. It might, unfortunately, it might be a little bit longer. We don't know. But the big thing is, it's November. You still got November and December. If you stop now in November, believe you me, starting, we've talked about it before. If you've got a lorry, as we've discussed before, you've got a real heavy lorry, from standstill to get that lorry moving is super, super tough if you're pushing it. If you've got a slight roll on it, you've got half a chance of keeping it, building momentum, and do you know what? You actually can build speed and keep going. And it's kind of like that again in November. If you're going to go to a standstill come December, well, not only have you got a lorry, you've got wet mud, right? You've got it's going to get 10x harder. You've also got the other things going on. You might have more social stuff. If you've not been able to socialise for a long time, you're going to want to go out and see people. And once again, we celebrate that. We believe that's a good thing. We're not saying that you have to go out and get absolutely smashed off your face, but maybe you do want to go out and get smashed off your face. You've had a month in with your partner. Maybe that's required if that's the way you're living. But what I will say is give yourself a good month of looking after yourself. Then if you can't really do a great deal else, be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself in every which way. Surround yourself with positive people. If you haven't got positive people around you, find positive people. Find a group of like-minded people that are doing things or trying to share things you're doing. Maybe look at things that you've never done before. Even if it is breathing, meditation, things that you may find a little bit out there previously, and just see. It works for a lot of people and may be fantastic for you.
Keep that truck rolling.
Exactly. Keep the momentum. Keep moving. I've literally wrote a little thing down here that not all pathways are clear. Many great achievements come from great sacrifice, great struggle. The ability to overcome and adapt is key for success, and we said it, we do believe that, nothing's really ever that smooth. We know that through many different things, and I'm sure everybody listening has had a time where they found it very hard and have had to change and maybe saw this whole perfect outline of where their life was going or where something was going or the weight loss journey or whatever we're talking about, and then something comes up, and it throws you off course. But you've got two options really. You either sit down, give up, and then you never get there, and there's no way of you ever getting there. It's not gifted to you. It doesn't come, no miracles are going to happen that way. Or you go, right, what can I do? How can I get around this? How can I adapt and still try and move forward? It might not be in the perfect direct line that I was meant to be going, but actually I'm still progressing, or I'm giving myself the best opportunity to progress when I can progress.
Yeah, we've always said control the controllables. Look for support, get help. Don't be that person who just sort of thinks that they have to do it themselves, or all by themselves.
Asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness, right? And that is true, because actually if you ask for help, you might be able to learn something and help somebody else. Mm-hmm. Somebody else that that's in that trouble, in that place, in that bad space. And actually, if you're seen as the strong person, you don't always have to be that strong person. Actually, taking a step back and sharing, some of the struggles you're facing may allow you to take that time back to then go out and be that strong person again when you need to be and when it's right. But you can't always potentially be strong. If you are somebody who's lucky and positive and gifted in that way, then once again, this is a time maybe for you to step up and be there for as many people as you can be. Put yourself out there and try and say be the light for a lot of people when it can be a little bit darker at the moment. Cool. Yeah. All good. Remember, as a group, as a team, as a community, the unit TUF, we are here to help. Please reach out. in any way, shape, or form, see what we can do. It might not be a membership. It might just be 10 minutes chat or whatever it is, and just see if there is anything we can do to try and help. We want to be there. We want to do as much as we can do. Stay positive.
Follow the content we've got. We've got loads of content to come out still. We've pre-recorded stuff to help your fitness, exercise, mindset, everything, nutrition. There's loads that you watch our YouTube channels, Facebook pages, and you'll find that for sure, and that will help.
Yeah, good. Right, guys, listen, take care. Look after yourself. Look after the ones you love, and we'll see you soon. Peace.
Bye-bye.